Testing, testing, testing. Starting. Okay. There we go. All right, so now I need to tell everybody the new URL, of course. All right. It's very, sorry about that. I got very confused by, they have all this, the new UI versus the old UI, and I kept going to the new page and the old page, and they were giving me different stream keys, you know. So I am going to wait for everybody to go to the right page. Which involves me copying and pasting this correctly. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the other chat. Right here. I'm going to very quickly make sure that the information at the bottom of the video is correct, because we're going to need some URLs during the class. So I'm going to edit that real quick. Okay. Save. Now we're good. Sorry about the technical issues, you all. I'm going to give a few minutes to make sure everybody's here. And we are good. So just give me a text confirmation in World if you are able to see the stream real quick. No habla español. So right here. All right, looks like we're good. So first of all, just some quick basics. This is the world building class, and we will be learning, first of all, how to enable Shaper. There is a specific version of Worlds that you will want to download in order to create worlds, and you will be able to tell which version of Worlds that you are on by going to Help and then going to About Worlds Player by Worlds.com. And that way, for example, you can see that I am on version 1904, which is actually not the version we'll want. So I wanted to start the stream on this version so I could swap over to 1890. The link is in the video description, Worlds version 1890. It is the URL that starts with dev.worlds.net. And you'll want to really quickly download that link. YouTube will also warn you, say that the link is harmful, all that too. So you get this download that says Worlds 1890 right here. If you don't already have it, just save that. And then with Worlds 1890, you're going to want to make sure, okay, this is on the wrong window. I'll probably have to give you verbal information about this. If you are on Windows 10, you do not want to download this to your program files, or you won't want to install it to your program files. You'll want to install it somewhere else. Anywhere will work as long as you can open that exe file. And so for the sake of example, I'm going to really quickly close out of Worlds and open Worlds 1890. Here it is. So as you can see, it'll make you log in again, and your avatars and everything won't be in here by default. And if any of you would like to know how to transfer all of your world's marks and avatars over here, I can show that later. But once you open a new version of Worlds, you will have to enter your username and password again, and it is normal to not have any of your avatars or any of your world's marks. I'm going to close out of this again because I need to show how to install Shaper now, or to enable Shaper. Is there anybody here that doesn't have Shaper already enabled? I'm going to go back into the auditorium so that I can see any questions in there while we do this. So back into the auditorium real quick. There we go. So normally you will not want to have Worlds open while you're doing this, but because I'm installing Worlds on enabling Shaper on a different version, it should be okay. So first of all, you will want to go to the directory where you just installed Worlds 1890. I actually did do it in this directory and it exploded. So don't install it to program files, it'll explode. You will want to go to the worlds.ini file, right click, and go to open with Notepad. One second, let me make sure it's the right file. Yes, that's the right file. Open, yes. I'm going slowly so that people can catch up. You will then want to, underneath gamma, put disable shaper equals 0. Just like that. And then you will want to go to File, Save. Save. Yes. And then occasionally you will have this error that says you do not have permission to open this file. And what you can do then is instead go to Save As and put it on your desktop. Like that. And then when it's on your desktop, you will want to just drag it into the folder and it'll ask you for administrative permission. Use 1890 if you can get it. If it's saying virus detected, that's likely because of just your browser or your virus detection. It is directly from the World's website. (1904) is okay. It'll just make a difference in the world building process. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to just go to the folder where 1904 is downloaded. Make a separate folder in program files. Yeah, that'll work. It's just, it explodes. Yeah, 1904 and 1920 A02. It shows both of those. Okay. Right. Yes, I am in 1904 right now for the sake of the fact that I'm editing my 1890 files while 1904 is open so that I can have something open while I am doing this. All right, let me check any comments that are in here in YouTube. No comments in YouTube. Okay. No, it's not 1904. Oh, it's 1920. Okay, I got it mixed up because it's Rev 1904. Okay. I understand what you mean now. My bad. So with the worlds.ini updated, I'm going to close out of this. Yes. And then we're going to go to the other worlds version. Now with 1890, you can tell it's different because it'll be called Worlds Player by Worlds.com. That's how you can tell which one 1890 is if you have more than one worlds version installed. This isn't mandatory to have 1890 installed. It just helps a lot with the world building process. If you go to options, there should be enable shaper, but there isn't, so I must have done something wrong. 1 second. And then Internet Explorer opened, just what I wanted. Disable shaper equals 0, that's correct. It's might be because it exploded earlier. I'm hoping that's not the case. Oops, you don't want to see Discord. There we go. I just needed to restart it one more time. And now the shaper is up here. This, if you have file, edit, library, worlds, just like that, that's how you know that shaper is installed. I'm going to head back into the auditorium to meet y'all. And now I am Penguin. Okay. So if you do not want this here, you can go to options, go to shaper on off, and that will enable and disable this UI here. One thing I really like to do is if you hit these right here, it'll switch where the location of these are. And something I saw Werla do earlier that I thought was really smart is she had it so that this was here. This is the hierarchy menu. So this will show you all of the things in the room. So if we go to world properties, it'll show you what's in the current room. Since we're in ground 0, it'll show what's in the current room right here. And if you go to edit properties on an object, it should usually go to whatever I've selected, and it's not wanting to do that today. But for example, we know that we are in auditorium, so we can go to auditorium. If it didn't decide to completely shaper froze on me. Come on, shaper, you can do it. Rooms, auditorium, contents, and we can see all the contents of this room. There is a lot of them. So we will want to go to a different room that's a lot simpler. So I have a demo room prepared for this class. And I will need to remember where that is. So 1 second. Blue finger. That's an interesting way to say like. I apologize. I have the URL here, but it got buried. Okay. So I'm going to paste the URL in chat here, and I am also going to paste it in YouTube. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to, first of all, add me as a friend. So left click, go to add. That'll let you add as a friend. But I also want to show you how to go to a world's URL directly. You can make this smaller by going like that. So to go to a world's URL directly or add a world's mark, you can either edit world's mark or add new world's mark to do this. In this case, I'm going to, or you can change location. In this case, I'm just going to change location, and you can add a world's mark to this later so you can go back to it. So what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to paste that URL I gave you in there and press OK. And if you added me as a friend, you can then go to my name and press go there as well. So either of those methods will work. So again, just world's mark, change location, paste, press OK, or go to me through the friend menu. The snow, I believe, is Whirlaburla. So what we have here is actually just a default room with the textures changed. The reason I changed the textures is because it's absolutely blinding to look at. You can get a room very similar to this by just going to File, New, and it'll put you in a new world. Now, an important thing about when you create a new world is that when you first enter it... Oh, who's the snow? Who is the snow avatar? That's not Whirla. Okay, so when you go into this hierarchy here on the left, it's still going to show ground zero until we go to File, World Properties. We want to edit properties of the room, File, World Properties. Come on, there we go. Sometimes you need to hit the arrow to refresh it too. So it will tell you that we're in World 1 and that the room is Room 1. And if you want people to be in the same room together, the room number and the world number will have to be the same. So, for example, if you created a new world, for example, a ground zero world, you're going to want to make sure that this is ground zero and that this room, if you want the base level of ground zero, you'd want that to be reception, as an example. So when you go to a world and you want to make it so that the users are the same in that world, you just go to that. You want to make sure to rename those, the world, and rename the room. You can do that by going to this name string property, double clicking on it, and changing the name down here. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know just in the chat or in YouTube. Either way works. It looks like my YouTube questions are not getting through to me. Whoops. Yeah, I thought I did link it in here. I linked it. It wasn't loading, so there we go. Now it's linked in here as well. Okay. So really quick, the first thing we can do together in here is if you all have Shaper enabled, you can change the contents of this wall by going to Edit Properties, making sure you're in Room 1, Shaper, please, Room 1, and the walls are in either contents or environment, I forget. Contents is where all the avatars are, so not that one. We want environment. Contents. There we go, environment contents. So we have all the different walls here. Rect 5, I believe, is the ceiling, and Rect 6, I believe, is the floor. And this is going to be the same for all new worlds. So for example, we can go to East Wall, and the material property is where we're going to find the settings such as the texture and the opacity. So we could change, for example, the opacity of this wall to be 0.5. I'm not sure which wall this is actually affecting. You can see that this wall is now lighter. Change that back to 1.0. And then if you go under material, you can also find the texture. And so the texture of this is currently just the addframe.cmp texture in the folder, in the worlds install folder. You can change that to pretty much anything. You can change it to any image you can find. So I can find, let's see, I grab an image. I believe you want to use a BMP. There's a few more image specifications that I've forgotten. 128 by 128 is the texture size that it's going to resize down to. Let's see, that URL is not going to work. Does anyone have an image you want me to shove on the wall that I can use as an example? Somebody sent me an image, completely unrelated image, but let's see if it will paste in there. Nope. Nobody has an image? Okay. Okay. Has to be a BMP, GIF, JPEG, CMP, which is a format that Worlds uses. You're going to see a lot of CMP and MOV files when you're editing worlds because most of the default worlds use CMP and MOVs. The images don't have to be posted online, or hosted online. The images can be put in the world's text folder. So let me go to a world that I have created here as an example. So as an example, this is a world I created. This is Club Kiwi. Ground0.world is here, and then I have the text folder. And so the text folder has the images that are going to be loaded into that world. So for example, there's arigato dolphin.bmp. It's a 128 by 128 BMP. And Whirla gave me pengo.mov. How do they stay on world? So when you upload a world, you are going to upload the world file and the texture file in the same directory. So for example, you see how ground0.world is here? The text folder is right next to it in the same directory. So when you go to that world, it's going to draw all the textures from that directory. Somebody else might be able to explain that a little better. I explained that pretty badly. Pengo.mov did not work. There. Oh. So I took the DARAT4.cmp yeah, that's it. That's avatars, yeah. So Whirla gave me an image that I put on this wall. But do note that when you put an image on a wall, nobody else is going to be able to see that until that world is saved and uploaded somewhere for everyone else to see it. So if you wanna put this image on a wall, I'm gonna relink it again, and I'll link it in here as well. Yes. So Jet posted it, home, animal house, text, .cmp. You're gonna want to copy that, and then you're gonna want to, I'm gonna pretend this wasn't open. You're gonna want to go to File, World Properties, World, Rooms, Room 1, Environment, Contents. You're gonna want to choose a wall. Okay, I'll choose south wall. You could tell south wall is selected because it has a rectangle around it. You're going to want to go to Material, Texture, and then you're going to want to go to File URL, double click, paste, OK. There was a special character that got pasted in there somehow. How the heck did that happen? Something's funny because I just did that. What is that special character there? Oh, got it. The rat 4. And there's still a special character there. I don't know how that got there. The square. There we go. Yeah, make sure there's no special characters in there. I think what happened is it picked up a white space from when I copied it. Anyway, we can do this to every single wall if we wanted to. East wall, material, texture. Oops, we already did that wall. Let's do north wall, material, texture. So if you're following along, just paste, kind of get a feel for how you enter the URLs in. If Derat is so good, why isn't there a Derat 5? I don't know, man. And then when you exit this world, if you've made any changes, it's going to ask you if you want to save changes to this world if you exit worlds. We doing textures, might as well mention them. What's them? Anyway, you can save right here. You're going to want to save often because, oh, mention the other Darats. You're going to want to save a lot of different versions. So what I would do is save incremental versions. So like, for example, New World 1, New World 2, and do that incrementally a lot because of, right. So one thing WorldsBuilding mentioned is that we have in these URLs, we have home, for example. What does this home part in the URL mean? This means that it will be looking in your home worlds directory to pull this texture from. This texture, as you can see, is from Animal House. It's one of the framed mouse pictures in Animal House, and it's pulling from your installation of worlds. If you haven't gone through the gauntlet, for example, this texture might appear as just a square for you because you haven't yet downloaded it. And then the other texture type is REL. This is going to not do anything. But what this is, REL stands for relative. This is a relative path. It's not going to let me do that. And relative paths are good for example, if you have a texture path, folder in the same directory as your world. You know what, I should go to Club Kiwi real quick. Does anyone have the URL for Club Kiwi so I can show off some relative paths? I could either that, or I guess I could go to 10 World too. Actually, I can just open it. But it'll, it's gonna look kind of weird if you follow me, because it's just gonna, you're not gonna be able to follow me, but if you go to GZ, you can still message me. I wasn't planning on heading over there. Worlds, we're gonna go to Club Kiwi, ground0.world. Just because this is a world I created. Hey, the textures are working properly for once. I accidentally opened the wrong version and crashed myself. Great. Sorry about that. Be right back. Shaper, please, where'd you go? Shaper! Shaper, where'd you go? Why did you disappear on me, Shaper? Okay, this is a good troubleshooting moment. WorldsBuilding, do you have any information on why Shaper would disappear like that? Disable Shaper equals 0 is right there. That's correct. It's saved. Ah, run as admin. Let's try that. Oh yes, I forgot you're probably the wrong person to ask since you are running Linux. Okay, that worked. So if Shaper disappears, try opening as admin. Right-click on things, or right-click on the shortcut, go to Run as admin, and now Worlds player now Shaper's enabled again. That's good to know. And good luck trying different permutations of 6 letters to get my password. Now let's go to the correct ground 0 world. Alright, relative textures. So, for example, if I edit properties here, I get this dance floor. The dance floor's material has this texture called dance25.bmp. It is a relative file that, for example, is linking directly to my E drive. Why is it doing that? What it should be doing is it should just be relative texture. The weird thing is this is uploaded, so I don't know why it thinks that's correct. I've definitely had to go to local files and fix the URL so that they don't, if it does this and you upload this, that texture is not going to work. There we go. Now, I really wish I could remember how to fix this. I do apologize. It's been a few years. I'm still catching up on... There we go. If you open it from the world's mark, you should be fine. Yes. I just need to find that world's mark. That's the issue. You would... Here's what you would type it in, though, as though. You would type it in as text arigatodolphin.bmp. But instead, you would use relative path. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Oops. One second. Issues again. Cake's name is impossible. Jet, please resend me that URL. And there we go. Add. Okay. There we go. Loaded in very slowly. Let's try this dance floor again. Edit properties. Why do some of the pics show up all wonky? I'm going to need some clarification on which pics show up wonky for you. Do you mean how they were initially neon colored over here? I tried a JPEG. Okay. And what did the JPEG look like? Like, what was wrong with it that it looked wonky? Can't use JPEG. Yeah. I know that JPEGs are supported, but I usually stick to BMP. BMP seems to have the least amount of difficulties. So go to dance floor, material, texture. It says relative, but it's still showing Jet's website. Yeah, GIF works well. BMP works well. And I don't know why these URLs are not staying relative. It's trying to hard link to... It's trying to hard link to Jet's website, and unfortunately, I do not remember how to fix that. I don't remember why that happens, and I'm sad. Because these are not relative. Like, the relative URL is here. It's text neon bars.bmp. They are relative, but since they are on whatever location, they show up as such. Okay, but then when I put relative in front of it, it says missing protocol specifier. So even if it shows as that location, it's still relative, since it has the relative at the beginning of it, I'm guessing, because they are on the server. Okay. All right. Anyway, I apologize. There's definitely a lot of things that I need to relearn, reacquaint myself with. I will just go quickly over some of the Shaper UI. We have this menu up here, which I like to move down here by clicking this arrow. These are the actions, the attributes, the behaviors, objects, and textures. These textures are just like some really horrible textures that you can use on things for testing, but they're really pretty horrible. They don't look good on anything. You can just toss them on things, but like I said, they're not very usable textures. And then for these objects, you can actually drag and drop these into the world. So for example, you get walls that you can drag out. So for example, I dragged out this east wall. And what you can see is that with this east wall, you can see one side of it, but not the other. That is because the wall has one-sided normals. Normals are basically the direction that you are looking at that you will be able to see the object from. So since it is an east wall, you can only see it when you are facing east. And if you wanted to see it from the other end, you would want to put a west wall behind it. So you would need a west wall and an east wall to make a double-sided wall. And you'd want to line them up too. This is not lined up. In order to move the walls, there's a few different methods. You can use these arrows here, and so these are just drag and click and drag arrows. So you can click and drag this wall by clicking this icon and moving this about. You can also pitch and roll and yaw here. So these are good to experiment with. These are not lined up at all. These are also, when you res out a wall or drag out a wall, these are bumpable by default. If you go to the walls you've created and go to the, just click on the wall and go to its properties, you will see a bumpable property. You can set the bumpable to true or false, and if the bumpable is set to false, you can walk through it. I set it in the wrong place, didn't I? Where was that under? I think, oh, that's the wrong wall. That is the west wall that I dragged out later. The east wall is right here. This is the east wall. So content, the east wall's properties. You want to set the bumpable to false in order to walk through it. And this one is no longer bumpable either. Now what you can also do is you can set them to be not visible. That's the wrong wall. That's the east wall again. So west wall, you can set this to be not visible. There's the opacity under materials. Well, I'm trying to remember what else there is to show here. Oh yes, I was doing the example of what if you wanted a double-sided wall. You can go to cut to delete these things too. Usually. So as an example, what if you wanted to make a double-sided wall? So for example, you want a south wall and a north wall to make a double-sided wall. What you would want to do is you'd want to make these match up. And now one way you can make these match up is to use the dragging mechanism in here, but a better way to do that would be to use the from 3D points and the to 3D points. So if you look at this wall over here, its from and to coordinates are this number, that's 1,448.5752 and 1655.9706. We don't want to deal with numbers like that. Let's just change it to 1450, 1650, 0. Helps to put 0.0 at the end too, because sometimes it'll try to estimate the numbers, and it estimates them wrong. It'll start putting .9999 at the beginning, at the end of stuff. So this is the from point. The to point, we're gonna want to estimate that as well. Let's do 2550, 1650, and this ends at 240. It's 240 high. So it's from 0 to 240, where 0 is the ground and 240 is how tall it is. So, and sometimes it helps to have a document open just to have a good idea of where you have this rectangle from. So, for example, we can do south wall. It's from 1450.0, 1650.0, 0.0, to 2550.0, 1650.0, 240.0. And then we have our north wall. Now we can look at those values easily without having to go back and forth constantly, since we have them written somewhere else. So we're going to want to reverse these values now. We want to do the 2 to 550.0, 1650.0, and we're going to want 0, not 240. 2 the from value, but we're gonna of course want the 240 on top. Okay. And now we have a double-sided wall. From whatever angle we look at it, it's still a wall. It doesn't go invisible behind it. So those are just some basic building tips that I find helpful, because a lot of the single-sided normals can throw people off at first. People expect that when they, drop a wall somewhere, that they would be able to see it from front and back and that's still a wall. But instead, Shaper gives you these single-sided walls that are initially strange. Initially, the behavior seems pretty strange, but 3D planes work that way in general. It saves on draw calls to have, if you don't see the back of something, to not render it. So it doesn't really hold your hand in that way at all. South wall. And another handy thing we have is if we wanted to, we could use a grouper object to group things like that together so that you don't have them just hanging out there contents. By the way, you do want to put things in environment. You don't really want to put things in here in contents like that. I forget exactly the reason why. I just know it's not a very good idea to put them in there. If somebody remembers why that is, please tell me, but I forget. I believe it has something to do with it showing through everything else. I know I have some grouper objects here to show off. I'm going to quickly find them. So, the building is a grouper object. If you have something in environment and something in shapers, they'll show through each other. Yeah, okay. That's what it was in contents, yeah. In contents, they'll show through each other. But you can do some interesting effects with that. But in general, you will want to make sure that if you drag something into the world, it tends to go inside of environment instead of going in content. So that's an issue that can happen sometimes. So content renders last, therefore showing in front most of the time. It is also a minor performance hit as they are more of a priority. That makes sense. So, sorry, I was going over grouper objects. Groupers are these things right here. You can drag them into the hierarchy to get a grouper, which will set the properties of the things below it. So, for example, this building is a grouper object that has other groups inside of it. For example, we have in its contents, apparently absolutely nothing is inside of it, and I am talking out my butt. I know there's a grouper object in here somewhere. Forgive me, I created this world longer than 2 years ago. Okay, here we go. Here's building. So in building, we have building floor, building int back, which is interior, building int ceiling, building int door top, building int east. Stuff like that. That is just to keep these organized because as you can see, there is an extreme amount of stuff in this room. The inside of this building is a different room from the outside because there's just so much stuff in it. And so groupers tend to be an easy way to organize these things, and you can also, I believe you can move the entire group at the same time. I am not 100% certain about this, so let me check real quick and see if that's actually a thing I'm correct about. Yes. You can see the things that are also not in the grouper. But I have like the front wall, the back wall, stuff like that, all inside of this grouper, and you can move them together. Now, in order to travel between rooms, you have portals. And so, although it seems like this is part of the same room, it's actually not. You have a portal that is actually leading you between the two rooms. And what I've done here is I've made the portal not show through. I've made a door that you see instead. Alright, see you later. I can't smell anything. I'm trying to remember how I did this now. Put a material on it, but by default, portals show what is on the other side. So I believe I just made the portal not visible and put a texture on it instead. But I'm going to check that real quick, because now I'm curious what I did. It is actually 4 o'clock, so I should wrap this up. So, visible true. Okay, so it is visible. So with portals, you have the destination world URL. We're in the same world, so that's null, and the destination room name, which I guess I named reception room 3. Portals only render what's on the other side if it's sky. Ah, okay. Sky. Sky. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I need to brush up on so I can actually give better lessons on this. But I think I will go over portals. Portals have a lot of them. Portals have a lot of intricacies and things to go through. So I believe I should probably go over that next time. Oh, I see what you mean. I forgot that I made this portal like that. Wow. See, I'm looking at all the stuff I did a few years ago and wondering how the heck I did that. So portals are going to be next time for sure, and I am going to wrap this up for now. And I hope you all learned something. I will probably make a more condensed version of this video later that actually has the facts and less of me wandering around and trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. And yes, so hopefully I will be doing this again in a week or two here. And I hope this information was at least semi-useful.